Hey guys, and welcome. Crimson Desert is one of the most highly anticipated games of 2026, and one of the most ambitious ones too. I can tell you now, ladies and gentlemen, for a fact that this is one of the best video games I've ever played, and somehow Pearl Abyss have managed to do the unthinkable. It's an open world experience that is compared to the likes of Red Dead Redemption 2 and Zelda Breath of the Wild, which to even have those in the same conversation is absolutely incredible. It's a huge accomplishment and achievement for Pearl Abyss, so congratulations and well done. The story is also fantastic, with memorable characters throughout and ones that you really grow to care for throughout the story. Today we're going to be explaining the full story of Crimson Desert. This was a 50-hour story. That's not side quests, that's no other additional content, that is pure story content. 12 full chapters, 50 full hours. However, for those that are new around here, these types of videos are for people which don't really have 50 hours to spend going through a story. It may not be your type of game, so you don't really want to pick it up, or you may not have around $60–70 to spend on this game right now. But if this video gets 1,000 likes, I'll be giving away 2 copies of the Deluxe Edition on any platform of your choosing, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video to learn about how you can enter that. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's dive straight into the storyline of Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert's story begins set in a forest at night, taking control of a soldier named Cliff. Cliff was a Greymane, a faction of soldiers known as the Protectors of Pywell, all facing one common enemy, the Black Bears. The Black Bears had already taken one of their fellow soldiers, Giles, and killed him. His last words were to Cliff. The bond they had, well, it was strong. Cliff pays respect to his fallen brother, kneeling at his burial place and paying his respect, placing the final stone on his grave. Cliff then meets with a fellow Greymane, Unka. They have a plan. The group sit at a table, share a fish stew between them, but tensions are high. The Black Bears are taking more men than they can afford to lose, and each of them are trying to convey a plan as to how they want to fight back. But before they could, in runs one of the group, with a sword straight through their back. They all sprint outside to see a horror sight, an ambush they did not expect at all.
Our land, Payloon, once unified, has been plunged into chaos. And now, a bloody battle unfolds between the Greymanes, who fight to uphold his will, and the Black Bear forces that seek to set it aflame.
Die, Greymane!
Cliff fights with everything he had, taking on each Black Bear one by one, helping each of his fellow Greymanes, Unka, Naira, and Yan. But this still was not enough. The Black Bears overpowered even the strongest and left Cliff face to face with the leader, Unbidden.
Cliff! Long time! Miss me? Unbidden! Pathetic! I expected better from the so-called Protectors of Payloon. Bunch of cunts throwing your lives away.
Watch your words, Unbidden.
There's the Greymane spirit! But look around you. I'm the one who decides your fate. Grab him. Yeah.
Cliff tried his best to fight back for all of those that he'd slain, but Unbidden was too strong. Cliff fought with everything that he had, until an arrow pierced him straight in the stomach.
Efforts, and you still end up bowing to me. What's that? Got something to say? Go on then. Out with it. I'm all ears. Well, you had your chance. Let this be a lesson to all you wolf whelps. Dead already. Give Gian my regards. Hunt down every last Greymane. Leave none alive.
Cliff, however, was not dead. He was in a strange place, one he'd never seen before. This place was high, high up in the sky, with rocks floating around him. Cliff navigated himself to the end of this place where he vanished, grabbing him by the arm and pulling him out of the water.
Greymane? Greymane? Lost in thought again? Why don't we go inside?
A long while later, Cliff was sat beside a river, lost in thought. He was taken in by a man named Sebastian, nursed back to health. But it was time for Cliff to leave and head straight to the nearest town named Henand. Before Sebastian ran into some trouble, two bandits not only asking for payment for something Sebastian had already paid for, but now they're asking for interest. Cliff handles the situation for Sebastian and they both ride into Henand. Ever since the Greymanes were wiped out, ever since the Black Bears ruled, Payloon has been swarming with bandits and factions up to no good. However, Cliff arrives, and this marks the start of Chapter 1. The first encounter. Cliff wakes and gets familiar with Henand. He walks around the town, even making himself known by winning an arm wrestling match in the nearest tavern, before Cliff finds a beggar laying upon a trapdoor and hands him a bag of copper. The beggar stands, however, and hands him a key, stating this key will guide you. The beggar, however, disappeared in front of him in thin air. Cliff then opens the trapdoor in which the beggar was laying upon and led into the sewers down below. Down there was a woman that was tied up. Cliff released the noble. When she responds to him,
He was right about you.
she hands him a letter and disappears, saying, "Care for those around you, as you have done for me." Cliff continues his walk around Henand and helps a couple cleaning their chimney, who reward him with a set of Henand wares. This allows Cliff to access the castle, where he would soon find use for that key. He opened a doorway and inside was a gateway in the wall. Cliff stood inside and, well, he ended up here. This, ladies and gentlemen, is named the Abyss. This is the same place that Cliff was sent at the start of the game. But he wasn't here alone. The White Crow granted Cliff a power, allowing him to get inside this large structure. He would then inside meet a red-cloaked man named Unbidden. He was waiting for Cliff, and his good deeds have brought them together. This, ladies and gentlemen, was the beggar from earlier on that we've seen lying upon that trapdoor. But the world itself is a mess. The real world and the Abyss, where we are now, have both begun to falter. If the cosmic order frays any further, our world and the Abyss and reality will unravel. It's Cliff's job to restore the balance before it's too late. Doesn't know what that means just yet, but Unbidden left it down to him to figure out. Cliff continues to move through the Abyss, before eventually meeting someone at the very end, all dressed in white, with a voice very familiar. She was the White Crow from earlier, but not only this, she was the woman tied up in the sewers.
Sorry, who are you?
I am White Crow, a guardian of the Abyss and a protector of your world's cosmic order.
You're the woman from the sewer.
The kindness you showed me back then will guide you on your path. Here, take these wings. The power to soar through the open skies is yours to command. It's time to return.
You're telling me to jump?
Worry not. Those wings will see you down safely.
Now, take flight. The world is yours to explore.
Chapter 2: Golden Greed. Cliff was given a green device, one that pointed him in the direction of his next place of interest, the Lioncrest Watchtower. He makes his way inside a compound that was taken over by bandits. Once he clears them out and walks upstairs, inside he finds a metal helmet, which allows him to see memories. This device was named a Visione, and it was used by people to see past events unfold in real time. He takes it with him and heads down to the town square, where Cliff gets word of a group of soldiers speaking about Greymanes. He approached the group and confronted them, where one of them, Matthias, has long wished to test his skills against a Greymane. Cliff initially declines the offer, and, well, Matthias takes offense, with Cliff eventually agreeing and bests him in combat. Afterwards, the two were humble, complimenting each other. There was no animosity there. However, in the crowd watching was a man. His name was Barden Midler. He was the Marshal of Hanan. He came with an urgent request, asking for the assistance of Cliff. The peace in Hanan has been troubled, and bandits run rampant. Barden Midler wants Cliff to do some digging for them. He wants Cliff to look around, see if he can find the name of any bandit leaders and put an end to them to restore peace in Hanand. Cliff does a bunch of tasks for the locals, returning sheep, finding out about lost cattle, and more, all using his Visione to look back at the memories. But Cliff gets word of a new faction named the Goldleaf Merchant Guild. They seem to be looking for glowing rocks falling from the sky. Cliff approached a group, one of them named Shakatu. He was willing to speak to us, saying that it's not them that's causing the destruction in Hanand, it's their leader. Shakatu was meant to be the leader of the Gold Leaf Guild long ago, but it didn't go to plan. And well, the Hornsplitter, their current leader, manipulated his way to the throne. He's the one that's manipulating the Gold Leafs to commit misdeeds to satisfy his own greed, and Shakatu wants Cliff to stop him. And in return, Shakatu knows the Marquis Circus, a very generous man and the overall king of Hanan. And he will offer the Greymanes land to build, make camp, and rebuild their faction to what they once were. Of course, Cliff likes the sound of this idea, and he battles the Hornsplitter.
Well now, the Greymane that's been meddling in my affairs has saved me the trouble of seeking him out.
You've been meddling with forbidden powers.
Forbidden? Sounds expensive. And all too appealing to a merchant's senses.
Eventually bettering him in combat after a long, drawn-out battle, and Shakatu is named leader. Chapter 3, Howling Hill.
Goodness, thank you. Now, I can breathe easy.
Bit of bloody good news.
The market's back to life.
Ah, there you are, Greymane.
Since the Hornsplitter was taken, the town's trading has been thriving. Shakatu sent a messenger. Because of Cliff, the folk of Hanand will now be at ease with them, and an alliance will grow stronger. However, the merchant breaks silence on a secret. There's talk of a man calling himself a Greymane in the back alleys of Hanan. Cliff didn't believe it at first, until he made his way there. And lo and behold, sat on the ground gripping a crutch, was Marius.
Cliff! Marius! So the rumors were true? What happened to your leg?
Never mind that. I'm just glad I'm still breathing. Come on, let's walk.
And what of the others?
Everyone scattered to the four winds after that night.
Marius was a Greymane and was in Cliff's original group. He couldn't believe it. Someone from that night survived and now is stood right in front of him. Cliff asks about the others, in which Marius tells him that he isn't sure, but they all scattered across different areas of Payloon. With Marius being with Naira and Andrew, he will be thrilled to see Cliff. Also, fellow Greymanes. Marius has some information on the Marquis Circus. Cliff, however, was on his way to see him now, and after the promise that Shakatu made, he wants to know if he can hold his end of the deal.
Anything on the Marquis?
You mean Marquis Circus? He's a generous man. Everyone speaks well of him.
I'm on my way to see him. Heard he'll help us regroup.
Is this a fresh start?
Aye. We'll all be together again.
Well, I'll go and tell Andrew and Naira you're back.
The Marquis Circus valued having Cliff and the Greymanes as allies, and decided to give them a place called Howling Hill in order for them to set up their camp. Cliff was escorted there on horseback by a guard, stating how thankful he was of Cliff's help so far. Marshal Midler was there waiting, with someone named Damien by his side. She's a guest of the Marquis and was brought here due to some troubles in a neighbouring city, Demonis. Everyone, however, is now here. The camp is thriving.
What a nice surprise.
Tonight,
I never thought I'd be eating all this. Prepared by a Greymane. Nothing better than a nice egg.
So take your time.
Let's taste right.
Today.
I can taste all the seasonings. Impressive cooking skills to boot, eh? The Marshal will regret leaving her.
That evening, Cliff collects Marius. He was held up at a beggar's camp, and well, Cliff was happy to get him out of there. He tells Cliff on the way that the impact that he's already having around Hanand, with him defeating the Hornsplitter, the news couldn't have travelled around quick enough. Marius, however, has some information on Payloon, on the Black Bears, the ones that initially killed the Greymanes. The word is they're getting crueler by the day. They're moving wagons at night, although no clue what's in them right now. They're acting strange, and it's worrying. Cliff takes Marius back to the camp on Howling Hill, and he was shocked at what they'd been given. Word got out about the Greymanes camp, and in walked someone named Ross and Carl, who was again initially part of the Greymanes before they were all defeated. They instantly asked about the rest of the group, when Marius mentioned that there's word of another Greymane locked up at Halcyon. He got drunk and beat up a priest half to death. Cliff, however, made his way over and was denied entry at first. This place was known as the House of Healing, and most here were wearing visionis. All seemed to be brainwashed. That was until Cliff walked into a cell and was attacked by Jan?
Cleanse my arsehole! Jan. Cliff! You're alive! It's been ages! What are you doing here? Shit! I'd be a corpse if it weren't for you. Got what's coming to them. Fuckers! Everyone here's lost their damn minds!
Jan tells us more about what's going on here. The ones running this place are locking people up, scrambling their brains. They placed the Visioni on their head, and it makes them compliant to every order. And well, in the words of Jan,
Suppose we can safely fuck off now.
since Jan was tossed off a cliff into the river, he was endlessly trying to find the others, moving across the world, but nothing. Eventually he got locked up here, after having a drink at a tavern. Jan got into an altercation with the group, bad-mouthing the Greymanes, saying that they got crushed by the Black Bears. So he obviously wasn't going to stand for that and try to beat them all up. And it turned out they all worked here. Now, it's here we learn of a character's name for the first time that you'll need to keep in mind moving forward in the story. Marnie. This helmet was invented by him, some supposed genius. Anyway, Cliff tells Jan about Howling Hill, and he makes his way there. And when Cliff got back, he was welcomed by another Greymane, Duane. However, Andrew and Naira were still not back. Cliff agreed to go and see what happened with them at a place named Glenbright Manor. And when he got there, it was a massacre.
So many bodies, like a war swept through. I hope Naira and Andrew get clear of this.
Soldiers slain, with a servant stabbed sitting in the office. The devil of the reed field is back, he said. We have to hurry before it's too late. Cliff uses the Visioni to track down where they went, to track what happened. After watching a memory, Cliff finds that his name is Aldrin Grace. He was the son of the Count, Alistair Grace, and he was resentful of his father, and now has turned into this. Cliff tracks Andrew and Naira to a small wooden cabin, where they're protecting the Count, Alistair Grace. However, the Reed Devil was on their tail, injuring Andrew in the making.
Why so fearful, my dear Count? You look as if you've seen a ghost. Or is it perhaps guilt that makes you tremble so?
Please! You are my own flesh and blood!
Pathetic! But such sniveling suits you perfectly.
The Reed Devil killed the Count, killed his father, then disappeared before Cliff could get to him. Cliff tells them both to head to Howling Hill, whilst he takes on the Reed Devil. After a very, very long battle, it was finally over.
Suffering. Then I'll shatter it.
However, the Reed Devil mentions something interesting. You may have killed this single form, but you cannot kill me. The grudge borne by this mask live on in every hated heart.
Live on within every hate-filled heart.
Now Cliff finally did it, but he needed to get back to Howling Hill to check on Andrew and the others. He was doing okay, but then in walks Jan.
I'll leave it to you.
Fuck me! So this is home now, eh? Not too shabby!
Eh?
Marius!
Jan! Oh, that tavern musk.
Fuck off! What's with your leg? For Solomon's sake!
Maybe I just wanted your attention.
Come on.
After that high energy intro, we speak to Marius. It turns out some people have seen to be asking around about the Greymanes, so we did some digging into it. He's made a list of the ones that could be Greymanes themselves and that can join us, whilst Marius and his informant widen their search for more. Cliff meets with 4 fellow Greymanes, Luke and Ronald. Cliff made some adjustments to the camp, building extra lodgings and even starting a camp fund. And at that night, they all sat around the fire, feasted on bread and drank lots of wine, and they spoke about the good old days.
Oi, Andrew, the fuck are you doing? Come on, yeah. Didn't that Reed Devil just run you through? You're a top cake, mate. You like your leak ale? See that? He's leaking already.
Yeah, that's enough.
Come on, he's fine. Thought we knew how to take a joke. I'm fine, really. It just stings a little.
Cliff, and the ancestors, it's good to have you back with us. I feel fortunate.
Right, who's got a story?
Did everyone hear about my leg?
Chapter 4: The Price of Knowledge.
Blackware bastards. I bought them all into stew. No more stews, Lane. I'm sick of stew. Ale.
After a long night of drinking and laughter, the Greymanes had seen better mornings. All hungover, some still drunk, until suddenly an explosion strikes the mountain range in the back of Howling Hill. Cliff, of course curious, moves in a hurry to check out what it was, and it turns out it was 2 villagers, one named Ramir. They specialise in special pots named the Cuckoo Pot that would allow Cliff to store things inside when using his powers. It was a reward to Cliff for helping them out. Anyway, Cliff carries on his journey back to Howling Hill and then into the town, where a stranger handed him a note. This note was from Alustin. There was a place named the Scholarstone Institute. It's devoted to the pursuit of knowledge and the study of all things in the world. However, recently there's been some unusual things going on there, and he wants Cliff to meet with the Dean to get more information on what's been happening. Scholarstone was hidden away. It could only be activated through the ability named Force Palm, an ability that Cliff possessed. He would only be accepted there if he was wearing the correct attire. Therefore, he dressed appropriately and spoke with someone named Grimmick as he entered. He escorted us to the top of the hill, but was curious. Not many outsiders make their way past the front gates anymore, so he thought someone put a good word in for us. Little did he know. Cliff was curious as to why this place was so hidden and off limits. But history, however, has proven that all innovations are set to be warped by the wicked hands. The Dean hid this place to keep it safe, keep it out of reach to those who'd use its powers for evil. They study everything and anything, from new planets to stars to technologies to even worlds. Cliff climbed and met with the Dean. His work is to discover worlds and beyond. Alustin, however, sensed a strange energy, and he wanted Cliff to double check what was going on. But if the research is so dangerous, why would they keep researching? A world beyond this one, linked to this world by a hidden passage. They may appear separate, but the two worlds are one. If more souls could reach that place, a brighter future would follow. Chaos is on the horizon, the Dean says, so they must arm themselves with the appropriate knowledge as soon as they can. The Dean escorts Cliff to his prized scholar, Octavius. He's the head researcher, and he needs Cliff to help finish his latest experiment. He has an experiment ready to show off tomorrow to the public, opening a portal into the abyss. Cliff helps, and it begins to open. However, it starts to go wrong. The rift opens, but began firing out a bunch of bolts of power, injuring the people around him. Cliff had no choice but to intervene and shut down the experiment, when something happened.
Stop this! No! My work is almost complete! If I were to stop now, I cannot prove my hypothesis!
Greymane! Are you all right?
Oh my goodness.
What happened here? Are you unharmed?
I'm all right.
How did all this happen?
Oh, what do we do now?
A ball of bad energy was rushed out of the abyss, out of the rift portal, and started causing damage. Cliff had to stop it and shut the portal down for good, but behind him, the tower opened a new portal, and that thing escaped. This was a place named the Spire of the Stars, and when Cliff got there Octavius was, lying on the ground, injured.
Stop him tearing open the rift.
Octavius! What's happening here?
Cliff made it to the very top, but he wasn't alone. A man, one that Cliff had never seen before, forces Cliff off the side of the abyss and activates the tower. He absorbs this power, leaving Cliff falling.
Oh, is that...
Cliff falls back into Scholarstone, where he fed back what he'd seen to the Dean. What we told him, the Dean was concerned, as the rift was not just a place for anyone where they can go. Everything remains unclear. So many questions up until this point. Cliff had his guard up and returned to Howling Hill, and he slept.
Come on, step in and prove your mettle. I can see your blood's racing already. Surely it's too soon to end it here.
However, in Henan, there was a festival taking place, with one of the guards knocking on a huge wooden wagon and walking off. Chapter 5. Guest Unbidden.
Oh, you're back. Running this place is turning out to be harder than I expected. Or am I just being ungrateful?
I keep telling you, you shouldn't push yourself so hard.
Oh, this leg's still fine. And both arms are in one piece.
I'm looking for the Grey Mains.
Aye. What is it?
Cliff returns back to Howling Hill and was immediately faced with a guard from Henan Castle. He tells Cliff that he's been invited to a banquet at the castle. A delegation from Deminis has come all of this way as a, let's say, peace offering. Damien is from Deminis. Maybe we should let her know, as that's where she fled from. But she's nowhere to be found. She had something to look into, so she left a while back, but anyway, Cliff headed to Henan. Cliff found Damien and told her about the Deminisian delegation. Damien was aware that they were coming, as one of her informants were a part of their faction. But Damien is here for her own personal business, to find the location of her old swordmaster. Her swordmaster got caught up in something and was forced to flee, so Damien wants to find her, clear her name, and restore her own honour. Cliff, however, heads to the castle and meets with Alan Serkis and Baron Midler. They walk inside and the delegation begins. Midler, however, mentions that Duke Caliburn has not been seen since his coronation, the first time we've heard of this name. He was the one behind the Blood Coronation, the purge that ousted countless Demisian nobles. Inside this box, however, was no ordinary gift. It was a beast, sent by the Grand General Bastir, the King of Deminis. The Deminisian soldiers aimed their weapons at the beast, trying to kill it and sacrifice it for Henan. However, it didn't go to plan, and the beast broke free, killing innocent people. Cliff had to fight it. Midler protects the Marquis and gets out of there. Cliff does just enough for the beast to flee, whilst Damien outside says this whole thing sends a clear message. The King of Deminis has no intention of leaving Henan in peace, and from what Damien said, the beast wasn't the only thing that slipped into Henan during that ceremony. Amidst of the chaos, others slipped in too. Not only this, but Damien has some information from her informant on the Greymanes and the Black Bears that attacked Cliff and his men. Records are showing that someone in Deminis is supplying them, but their identity remains unknown. There might be another force at play here, but there's also fighting against Cliff and the Greymanes. However, a message from the White Crow reached us. Greymane, one deemed unauthorized, has recently crossed over from the Abyss. This is a sign that the boundary between Pywell and the Abyss is slowly crumbling. What lies at the end, no one can predict. Across the continents there are other witches who have safeguarded the balance for countless years. Seek them and lend them your strength. Continue your acts of goodwill and gain the wisdom needed to face the end. White Crow. Cliff's next task was to speak to a witch. Witches, as the White Crow has, safeguarded the balance for countless years, so seeking their help is vital. When Cliff speaks to the witch, she tells him that their powers have been suppressed, and the only way for them to be able to help is if Cliff can restore a series of fallen sanctuaries. Cliff then makes his way back to Henan Castle, and Damien's information on the intruder were correct. As when he reached the castle, the soldiers were searching. The only thing they left behind were crow feathers. The inner keep completely torn apart, almost like they were searching for something. Cliff goes through the same door the first key in the castle opened. and when he got there, the door was wide open. He approached the large structure in the abyss and was immediately attacked by a bunch of Demisian soldiers. Inside, to the left-hand side, was Alustin. A large group of crows flew out of the building as Cliff walked in, just as the soldier described. Cliff removed the dagger from Alustin's chest and asked what happened. The White Crow has been taken, he said, and we must find her quickly. We must follow him, the Crow, and stop the Black Witch. The Black Witch is someone that converts White Crow's powers. The White Crow must never fall into her hands. Cliff follows his leads and finds the Crow Caller. White Crow is on the way as an offering as we speak, he says, so Cliff needs to kill him fast. He disappeared again, and Cliff followed him to an old church, where outside were hundreds of slaughtered bodies. And then an orphanage, all based in Demonis. Cliff tried the orphanage first, where he was almost attacked by an abbess, believing that he was the Crow Caller. She was scared. Her kind, the abbot, stood watch over the sanctuary for generations. It's called Heaven's Gate, but not just because it was sacred. It's said that the gate leads to a gate other than our own, and now these wicked souls have passed through. That's what the massacre of people outside was, most of them murdered by the Crow Caller. In the cellar was a relic that can open Heaven's Gate, and Cliff makes his way there to collect it, ready for the final battle.
The light will illuminate your sins, heathens. Oh, Sullivan, hear us.
What is this?
You'll be fine, offerings to Mother. As will you.
Welcome to our
Come out! Let's end this.
Greymane, does this place please you? It shall serve as your grave.
We'll see whose grave it'll be.
This is my nest. The moment you set foot here, your fate was sealed!
The grave is yours.
Twisted shade. Thank you. Truly. But I fear this is not the end. Be careful, Greymane.
Cliff defeats the Crow Caller and frees the White Crow. Chapter 6. Cracks in the Shield.
Something feels off.
Is that... We're being attacked!
Quickly! Go light the beacon!
Cliff returns to Howling Hill and is greeted immediately by another Hananian guard. He tells Cliff that it's being reported that there's a Greymane situated in a place called Calfade, but with war raging, it isn't safe. The Marquis wants Cliff to head to the castle urgently to discuss the matter further. Alan Serkis, the Marquis, meets Cliff and escorts him in. It's there that the King of Hernand is waiting. Charles Celeste is his name, and Charles tells Cliff that an old comrade of his and the Marquis, Stefan Langford, are both in grave danger. There's word of a Greymane wielding an axe aiding Calfade, and that's where the Black Bears have set their sights on next. If Cliff lends a hand, they will certainly lose. Cliff knows who this is. This Greymane is Unka. The Marquis and the King have set up an escort into Calfade, with some of the soldiers worrying and being very, very hesitant with the war. Cliff made it to Calfade, and there was Baron Midler waiting for him, but it's bad news. There's a high chance that the enemy will take the castle. If Marquis Langford falls, then Calfade's fate will be treacherous. Cliff, however, at this stage is more interested in Unka, his comrade, his brother. He'll most likely be held up in the keep of the Marquis, the centre of the castle on the front line. Cliff gives the soldiers a few quick tips on how they can better their combat and tells Midler he must find Unka, in which he makes his way. However, the Calfades were under attack by the Black Bears, so Cliff offers a hand in battle, re-raising banners to give morale to the soldiers and helping destroy enemy supplies. But Cliff ends his help infiltrating the Black Bears' base, saving a group of the soldiers. This was enough to send the Black Bears running, so Cliff headed straight to Calfade Castle, and on the inside, Unka was there.
Unka!
Situation.
A turncoat's taken the castle.
And Stefan?
He's trying to take it back. Won't be easy. Odds are against him.
Head for the castle when you're done here.
All right.
Stefan Langford kneels to you, pretender! Cliff, you're alive!
I'll take care of the traitor.
So Cliff decides to face off with the soldier, the traitor inside, and supports Stefan in taking back Calfade Castle. The two have a brief exchange, and in walks Cliff. The one inside, the traitor, was named Cassius Morton. Cliff defeats him, killing him with his own shield in a brutal way. Stefan walks in, thanking Cliff for his help here. The rest of the forces were heading off north, in which the Calfades will hunt them down. Cliff lit the beacon of victory, showing the whole of Hernan and Calfade that the victory of today was theirs. Cliff returned back to Howling Hill, catching up with his comrades. Marius has caught wind of a group of Greymane survivors, which might be worth looking at. And to the rest of them, they're in high spirits, not only seeing Cliff back, but also Unka. They were talking about Payloon, saying that the faction named the Jackals are strutting around like they own the place, and surprisingly not the Black Bears. The Jackals are run by a man named Ludwig. Their contact in Payloon wants them to meet all at a shrine there, but now it's time to eat. Tomorrow, they will meet some familiar faces and settle some old scores. Two of them will head for a place called Bien. Cliff, however, will meet the informant at a shrine and beat everyone back up afterwards.
You're in for a treat. Same stew as always.
Now we've earned a peaceful meal.
Everyone's finally back. Time to meet some old faces and settle old scores.
Music to my ears.
You two head for Beacon. I'll meet the informant at the shrine and join you after. Dwayne, never stop making that stew. Unka, I'm counting on you.
Those jackals are dead. I'm coming too.
No, you're going with Unka.
Just let me fight.
Not until you've cleaned that bowl.
Fine, fine. Bloody taskmaster.
Chapter 7. Homecoming.
Spare me! Get over here!
No, please! I beg you! I won't try again, I swear! Just...
Quit your bleating and move! Fucking scouts!
Payloon was in great distress, with the Black Bears taking innocent civilians and murdering them there and then, even hanging them on the spot. The Greymanes did not have long at all. The leader of the Jackals, Ludwig, was once a Greymane. He was slimy, sometimes not trustworthy, and their fallen comrade, Jian, treated him like he was his own flesh and blood, like a son. But he decided to choose the dark side and work with the Black Bears, forming his own faction, the Jackals. Cliff is accompanied by another Greymane on his way to meet the informant. And when he gets there, the shrine was burnt to the ground, with the informant dead. It was an ambush. Cliff kills the Jackal soldiers and investigates the burning shrine, and inside was a note. This was a note about the situational report in Payloon. The Jackals under Ludwig's command have seized control of Payloon's region. Intel confirms that a faction in BN is currently preparing a counter-offensive. We need to establish contact with them to get an accurate read on the situation. It is critical to note that there have been multiple reports of Payloon residents being forcibly taken to an undisclosed location. The area is under heavy surveillance by both the Jackals and the Black Bears. Exercise extreme caution. Cliff hurries to BN to meet the rest of the group back up, and it's mixed emotions for the group when they get there. The local folk are almost resenting the Greymanes, resenting them for abandoning Payloon. This was the reality check for the Greymanes, as obviously it wasn't their fault. They were all slain and some killed. They didn't leave. But it just shows how some propaganda can go a long way for a bad faction, and it's definitely took the effect on these civilians. Cliff, however, gets wind of a secret organisation, and one that was mentioned in the contact's note. The leader of this organisation is named Tornston. Tornston was a Greymane, and he has a secret organisation planning a counter-offensive on the Jackals. They were named Blue Fangs. They were devising a plan to take back Payloon, but first of all, they need to reclaim and take back all of the prisoners the Black Bears had taken. Women, children, all of them chained up. Anytime the Blue Fangs approached trying to do what was right, they would kill one by one. If they continue trying to take them back, all would die, if not all of them. So Cliff needed to do this a different way, a way that he's not been used to so far. He would need to be stealthy, silent, and get to the top without being spotted. If he did this, no one else would die. Cliff climbed the mountain range, killing the guard watching over the captives, and lit a beacon. The civilians were set free, and the Blue Fangs took back the mountain. Cliff then met back with Tornstein and the other Greymanes, and they were talking through a plan of attack.
Took you long enough.
The finest blade in Payloon returns. Thanks for taking care of everything so quickly. Knew you could do it. We were holding off on discussing matters until you arrived.
Here, take a seat.
Starting without me?
You're late. Come on. We've wasted enough time.
Oi, no fussing about. Get over here, quick.
Good.
What you been doing?
We're all here. Let's make sure we all know where we stand. Our goal is to retake our great capital. It may be to our advantage that Muirden's holed himself up in Silver Wolf Mountain. In his absence, Ludwig the leader of the Jackals, has taken to playing king. Even with the Blue Fangs and Greymanes combined, we don't even have half their number.
We're planning to fight or measure our cocks. Numbers don't matter. I'll slit the throats of every bear and jackal before they can blink.
You're an actual fucking idiot, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Your ancestors must be proud, Jan. So eager to meet them. But this isn't a suicide mission, understand?
Grow a brain, you
To have a fighting chance, we need to target their weak points. Then, we concentrate our attack on the gates and walls. We'll hit the harbour next. And finish off with the mines that fund them. Do your part. See it through. And by dawn, the city will be ours again. Remember, skill won't save your neck out there. There's far too many of them. This is a mission with more lives than ours at stake. We cannot fail.
Yeah.
Then let's rouse the warriors.
The time has come to set things right.
It's been a long, hard road. Now, just one step remains. Thorstein's about to speak. Brothers! The time has come to unsheath our fury. To let our rage be brandished in steel. Our ancestors are calling us to take revenge on the blasphemous invaders who have defiled our land. How shall we answer them? Today, we will become one spear to pierce the hearts of those bastards!
However, after the speech, Thorstein has something he wanted to give Cliff. This was once Gian's sword. Cliff and Thorstein ride on, and doing so they spoke about Gian's fate. Gian cared deeply for Ludwig. He wanted to raise him into a man of honesty and integrity, but Ludwig repaid his faith with betrayal. So this battle isn't just about saving all of the innocents and taking back the land, but it's about repaying Gian too. The Black Bears were still at it, hanging civilians if the sense of threat is there. Thorstein will be outside the gates, and as night falls, an explosion will hit, which is then the time to strike. However, Thorstein sent a scout that hadn't returned, an old friend of Cliff's, and a fellow Greymane. He hasn't returned, so Cliff makes his way inside to find him, and once he does, he takes an explosive and plants it on a boat of supplies, and waits for nightfall.
Shane!
Cliff, how did you...
That's what I wanted to ask you. What happened? Stay still. These wounds are serious.
I tried to make good use of
Shane, hey, come on.
Cliff, go on ahead. I'll take Shane to safety. It's time. Prepare yourselves to take back what was stolen. For our fallen brothers. Show no mercy.
Cut them off.
Cliff helps fight and reach the castle. Inside was Ludwig waiting, taunting Cliff. Ludwig too possesses unworldly powers, but Cliff gets the better of him, forcing him into a chair. But then in walks Duane. Before he's killed, he wants to ask him questions because he's got a lot of knowledge about what's happening, and especially about Myrddin.
What the hell do you think you're doing? Untie me!
You don't really need this hard, do you?
Relax! If it doesn't come off clean, you'll know! Clive!
Duane, what happened?
Let my damn guard down. The cunt's running away.
Shit! Not on my watch!
Shit! The bastard!
Go away!
The next morning, they regrouped. The black bears, they stand strong, and there are a lot more of them than jackals. But they will only be powerful if Myrddin is still in charge. But it's time to take out the shepherd, allowing the flock to scatter. They will need to capture Ludwig, but the time is perfect to capture Myrddin. They meet outside the gates of the black bear's stronghold, and they're greeted on the bridge, even bringing them a civilian to kill.
Cliff.
Hey. Watch me. I'm gonna butcher them like dogs. Listen well! Seems like you fuckwits have somehow forgot why you shouldn't mess with the black bears. So Myrddin sent us to help rouse your memories. Remember? That night, kneeling in the dirt, gut spilling out? You squealed like hogs at the slaughter! And the blood! Oh, how it flowed! Pick fuckers! They're all fucking dead!
That was it. They attacked, and made their way into the Black Bear's stronghold, where Cliff met the one that started it all.
Cockroach to kill, aren't ya? Let's end it for real this time!
Cliff got the better of him, overpowering him. It looked as though this would be it, that this would be the moment he waited all these years for. Until...
Got something to say, you little...
This is what it means to have power. No one defies me. Stupid fucker. Bring me his head. You fuckers! A sack of gold to whoever takes his head. Put him down! Tear the bastard limb from limb! Useless bastard! Anyone? Finish him now! Destroy him! More! I just needed more! A little more!
Unbidden was assisted by Ludwig, pushing Cliff off the side of the wooden beam, leaving him too weak to move.
What's the plan now?
Cliff woke a while later, Unga at his side. The battle was won, but the wounds of Cliff's were severe. Unbidden fled east, but they would deal with that in time. Meantime, Cliff is told to rest, whilst we take control of Unka and deal with Ludwig once and for all.
Any last words?
Well, nothing I say is gonna change your mind, is it? He promised me all of Balin if I removed an obstacle for him. So the jackals could finally outshine the Greymaids. Does it look familiar?
You had a hand in Jian's death.
Balin would have become mine. If you fuckers had just stayed away. Mine. Forever!
Not worth listening to your rambling.
Unga returns to Bien, where everyone gathers to pay respect to those who had fallen, but mostly to Jian, properly paying their respect to him, and say some parting words at his true grave.
Hey, good to see you.
Ah, there you are.
Chapter 8, The Blood Coronation. Cliff wakes and is now fully recovered from the battle he faced. Thorstein and him have a conversation. Dwayne has decided to stay here, help rebuild in Jian's honour. The jackals, they're done, but the black bears are still a big problem. They know where Myrddin's heading, and they should finish this bear hunt whilst they can. He's fled to Demonis. They found signs of the black bears are heading there too, for whatever reason. Thorstein, however, has something for Cliff. A letter given to him by a mysterious woman clad in white. But not only this, he handed us Jian's personal journal as well, one with all of his notes and thoughts within. The note, however, says this: "My name is Meigu, and I hail from the eastern continent across the sea. Whilst travelling here with my sister, we were attacked and now find ourselves in grave danger, so I send this letter in haste. White Crow has promised to deliver it, and I write with the hope that it reaches you safely. Please do not turn a deaf ear to our plea, I beg of you. Follow this path the letter takes you." This next section was guidance given to us by the White Crow. There was a witch travelled here from the lands afar with her sister. They crashed on a nearby beach due to some cannon fire, and her sister was taken captive by the black bears. This witch is named Meigu. Cliff followed the instructions and finally found her sister, Wusa, held captive in a fort atop of the hill. Cliff reunited the two sisters, who were so glad to see each other. They were so thankful for Cliff that they sent him a gift, and they said, on their way, that if you ever need our help, we will be there to repay you. Cliff, however, after returned to Howling Hill and received a note on the whereabouts of Myrddin. Whilst tracking Myrddin, evidence was uncovered of his deep involvement in Demonis' politics. Specifically, the Bastia faction, the ones truly in power, is confirmed to be colluding with Myrddin and aiding his escape. As this appears to linked to Payloon's incident, further investigation into the Bastia faction and their backers is required. Some special notes. Countess Azarian, a key political figure, has withdrawn from public activities and remains secluded in a manor for an extended period of time. She is believed to hold crucial information regarding the connection between Myrddin and the Bastia faction. Western Demonis falls under Countess Azarian's influence and has been deemed safe as it's beyond the reach of Bastia's surveillance. To avoid unnecessary conflict, a covert entry via Russell Leaf Farm is recommended. Cliff did not wait around and headed straight for Russell Leaf Farm and headed inside Countess Azarian's manor. He remained undetected until he became detected. However, she was very welcoming. Her name was Colette Azarian, the daughter of Robert Azarian. She didn't know the whereabouts of Myrddin, but she might know someone that does. She's been searching for her sister Beatrice, the rightful heir to her title and estate. Her disappearance and the downfall of the Greymanes. She believes that it's down to the one that sits above all in this land, even above the royal family, the man who purged the king's loyalists and seized the throne, Duke Caliburn. Not the first time we've heard that name. Her sister was conducting an investigation into his affairs, but since the coronation she's not heard anything back. There are two contacts, Countess Marshall and Count Byron. Cliff needs to see what they know. They're Caliburn's faithfuls. They should know what's going on more than anyone. Cliff, however, uses the Visione to look at different memories of both people of interest. Evil people. They plan to take both Beatrice and Colette to Caliburn, calling them both toys. George Byron was one of the men behind killing the Greymanes, seeing memories of him and Myrddin speaking about the attack. The jackals would take care of Jian, whilst Myrddin remains here, ready for the signal. With Ludwig in mind to betray him, Cliff reports back to Colette, and there was Damien too. Grand General Bastia has imprisoned Beatrice, which also turned out to be Damien's swordmaster. She went off to find her, and we relay all of the information that we'd found to Colette. She tells us that someone named Duke Wells is dealing with some issues nearby. She wants Cliff to go there and help out. The rebels they were fighting against are resulting in using Payloon's prisoners as human shields, all led by a man named Fortain. Cliff arrives at the barracks to meet Duke Wells. They were really struggling. General Bastia sent Duke Wells away on a training exercise, and in that time his fortress was taken over by rebels. Cliff helps by taking it back, by defeating the cursed knight, Fontaine, once and for all, which sent all of his soldiers running out of there.
Greymane! I can hardly believe it. I owe you a great debt.
Duke Wells asks how he can repay Cliff, and well, all he wants is information. Duke Wells said that he bets that Muradin is teamed up with Duke Caliburn. He was at the Coronation, but Caliburn's whereabouts is not easy to find. He's a very cautious man. But his old study at the castle would be a great place to start. Cliff gets inside and uses the Visione to see what happened here, and there's a memory with someone named Lucien Bastia, and there was Muradin. Also overhearing some civilians there, they did not like Duke Caliburn. His reach, however, was so far that it extended to every corner of the continent, but his majesty was said to be returning to the throne, which is what this coronation was set to be about. Until Duke Caliburn walked in, with the civilians arguing against him, saying what he's done is appalling, but he wasn't here to give up his throne that easy. He would remove what stands in his way, and that was the people. He ordered his guards to kill them all, massacring them in the hall. Caliburn uses his powers, however, to almost pull Cliff in from the memory into the room with them during that time. But Cliff takes a second to realise where he is, for one, but two, to recollect a memory that he had. The man that he saw in the abyss, that was Caliburn. That was Gabriel Caliburn. The two fight it out, but he was too strong for Cliff in his current state, with Gabriel Caliburn walking to the top of the altar and sitting on the throne, placing the crown on his head. Cliff was captured by the guards, but then, just as all hope was looked to be lost, Usa, the witch from earlier, and Megu, they arrived and saved Cliff's life. Cliff was under a dark spell, in which the witches helped remove. They said, when he needed it, they will be there, and they didn't disappoint.
Can you save him? He's steeped in shadow. It needs to be purged, fast. Let's get him out of here.
Come on, wait! This one!
Just the hero! Have you found her? Not yet. But I've got a lead, thanks to Cliff.
We now switch to Damien. Her story was not finished. Thanks to Cliff, she has a lead on the location of her swordmaster, and she immediately made her way there. It's there that she found Beatrice, but she was unfortunately too late.
Beatrice.
There was one man behind this massacre, one man that would toy with these different people that he'd captured, and that man was Lucien Bastille. This was a sick man, one that Damien did very well to kill.
Get him! Why did you kill my swordmaster?
Why? Does anyone need a reason to kill?
But just as she did, something appeared above her. Something floating like an island. What is Caliburn up to?
The world?
Chapter 9, The Sage of the Desert.
Isn't it? Looks like he's all better. We told you he'd wake up.
Cliff awoke in a random place. He was shocked, surrounded almost by children, magical children. The witch sisters saved Cliff, and without them he'd had no doubt have been dead. But then, a voice.
You alone flow, while all else remains still. You can finally hear me.
Time stops around Cliff. The magical children paused almost, with a voice saying, "You can finally hear me." Cliff doesn't know what or who this is, but he's been watching him. He wants Cliff to find him, so he sets off on the journey. Cliff begins to speak with the witches that saved his life, one, thanking them for their help, but two, asking them more about this voice. They both pause, look at each other, and seem to know exactly what's going on. The voice told Cliff to find strength within, and this was a call to prove himself through trial. I kind of thought Cliff had already done enough at this point to prove himself, but obviously not. The place Cliff seeks is a long way away, but the witches will help get there in an instant. Cliff walks in and is presented with a huge golden statue covered in taint. Cliff removes the taint and the whole room glows. Around him were 4 plaques, reading 4 different things. Bear within you the purpose to mend the balance that falters. True enlightenment shall begin. Sanctum's order is restored. There are things that grow stronger the more they are worn and weathered. Enlightenment shall begin where the sword of your past and present crosses. Lend your ear to the cries of suffering. Enlightenment shall begin beyond the sea of crimson sands in the north, where severed bonds will born. Learn the way of looking within. Enlightenment shall begin upon the southern peak, where the morn mist rises. Cliff follows the direction of the stone tablets and reaches a tower. Inside was a picture that spoke to him. She was a sorcerer, stripped of power, bound to that one frame. Cliff seeks out the witch, the mother of the crow caller, from earlier on in the game. Hexa Marie her name was. He needs to kill her to restore power to the land and ensure that she doesn't use her sorcery to disrupt the order of the abyss. Cliff had to restore power at a nearby sanctum, in which, once he does, he was greeted with the White Crow. With the sanctum now up and running, it prevents Hexa Marie from using her dark magic to cause chaos in the Abyss. But Cliff finds her, and the battle begins.
How disappointing. You couldn't even carry out your mother's command. Not that I ever expected much from you. You've served your purpose. Now, I'll reclaim my power. Greymane, you've come all this way to fill my empty void. How precious. Deep down, you already know that joining me is the only choice. You desire me, don't you?
Foul-tongued witch!
Just like my child, you need to be broken in! Power more suited to me! Different from my child. Pure power!
You're what twisted him!
Fear always dwells within that child! But you are perfection! You will be mine, Greymane!
The battle was a long one, a drawn-out one, but Cliff did it in the end. Exhausted after the battle, he stands over his sword, panting out of breath, and continues on with the other 3 stone tables. The next was relating to a place named the Spirit of the Sun. Cliff had to activate this tower and make his way to the Abyss through a portal. However, at the end waiting for him was a fellow Greymane named Goyen. He would help him achieve enlightenment by showing sheer strength and showing his power, almost proving it to him. The next one was really cool. Cliff made it to the top of a castle and followed the dirt path of the mountain, and there a dragon slept, with taint spears in its back. Cliff knew what he had to do, remove those spears, and in doing so, it meant you got to ride the dragon. How awesome. The final stone was all about proving our worth through different trials. A kindness by rebuilding temple statues and taking out a traitor. He was a kung fu warrior named Trucan. Cliff passed all of the tests and defeated the warrior, but Cliff has completed each of these steps. It's now time for him to achieve enlightenment. Cliff was greeted by Master Jijiong, but he said what I thought. You're doing enough, Cliff. Help some lost souls and that'll be your lesson, but you have nothing left to prove. Cliff has now completed and has now been enlightened. He's reached enlightenment. He returns to the Crimson Desert, and atop of the stairs is a stone door. Cliff must use his strength, his stamina, and his spirit to open the gates, in which he does. And on the inside, Cliff can put a voice to a face. Master Du walks out from behind one of the statues and meets us. Cliff and Master Du fight in one last challenge for Cliff, and when they complete it and he bests him in combat, they meet at the Sky Bridge and they go to the Abyss.
What do you know of the Abyss?
Not much.
The Abyss and reality cannot be separated. They are one and the same. The Abyss holds what power the world itself cannot contain. If it collapses, reality will collapse with it. Unfortunately, any who have had a taste of its power become a slave to it, always yearning for more. To such people, balance and peace are nothing but illusions. I'm certain you've seen it yourself. The shards of power shed by the Abyss, and the horrors committed by those who wield those artifacts. They are no longer content with those crumbs, which is why they plot to open the gate.
What's behind it?
Pure power, raw and untamed.
The moment it's claimed by a single hand, ruin is sure to follow.
Fort Musket. They've sealed themselves within, scheming to force open the gate, even if it dooms us all.
You alone cannot stop them. You will need the strength of many to stand with you.
Remember the path you've walked, and those who have always fought beside you.
Remember this well. That gate must never open.
They tell him that Fort Musket is the place in question, a place where they're planning to seal themselves in and force open the gate to the Abyss. Even if it dooms them all, they'll do it. Cliff alone cannot stop them, but they will need the strength of many to help. And this is from building relationships and doing deeds for people throughout the story. Cliff has now got an army. Cliff knows what he must do. He knows the path he must cross. He returns to Howling Hill, and he addresses the rest of the group.
Where the fuck have you been, eh? You nearly died of old age here.
Bit of a skirmish with Caliburn. Got a good thrashing, but some fine folk patched me up.
Who the fuck is Caliburn?
And I learned something important. Caliburn and Myrddin are plotting something huge at Fort Musket.
The day we brought down Bastir, I saw a massive structure floating towards the fort. And that's not all. Caliburn's men are taking the prisoners there as well. Which means it must all be connected.
What the hell's going on?
Shut up, this is serious.
Cliff, tell us what to do.
I'll help however I can.
Right, so, who do I get to stick first?
Hey!
What's that for?
What the idiot means is hesitation isn't really our style.
We must stop Caliburn's men at Fort Musket. If we fail to do so, countless lives will be lost.
Right then, Fort Musket. Let's blow the bloody thing to pieces.
We can't do this alone. Naira, gather all of the Greymanes.
Consider it done.
Unka, contact Stefan
About
and Kalfid.
fucking time. Cliff, what about me?
Inform Marquis Circus of the situation.
I'm as good as there. See you, lads.
I'll speak with Torstein.
Damien, can we count on support from Demonis as well?
We all know that we have to fight against Caliburn. If we are to stop the coming catastrophe. Countess Azarian, Duke Wells, and others will move soon.
Once everyone's ready, let's assemble.
Where exactly?
Damien, you know a good location?
There is an outpost on the road to Fort Musket. We can use it to our advantage.
All right, let's move.
Chapter 10. Counterattack. Cliff and the rest of the Greymanes head to the outpost and meet with Stefan Langford. They immediately discuss the fortress in the sky. When this first appeared, every soldier that approached it instantly dropped dead. Stefan had to contact a place called the Neutral Zone to acquire a weapon of sufficient power that could let us deal with it. There lay a famous weapons dealer, an orc named Valgash. He forges weapons beyond imagination, but their situation is no better. His land has been plagued by a war for a long time now, so Cliff makes his way there to meet Valgash. However, the entire estate was under attack. Cliff manages to actually save his life, but tells him to follow, so Cliff does. He mentions someone that we heard about earlier on in the game, Marnie, the one that built all of these machines. Valgash was building machines since he was 3, but they were never like this in the past. They got to safety and began speaking to someone named Marek. He gave Cliff a machine named A-Tag. It was awesome. We helped them clear out the machines and returned to speak with Valgash. This, however, wasn't their ace. They had something much bigger, a weapon much more powerful, but it needed a lot more power to operate, meaning they needed to put a power plant back online. Cliff does exactly this, and well, the long-range cannon was ready. They won the battle, and Cliff caught back up with Valgash. The flying fortress is a dangerous weapon created by Marnie. They can't use the cannon anymore because, well, all of its power has been depleted when they just used it in battle. So the only option for Cliff now is to speak directly with the creator himself. But Valgash caught wind of some rumours that should be of a concern. Marnie was snatching northern folk, sticking them in strange coffins and torturing them. This is something that Cliff needs to keep in mind, and well, he hurries over Delacia Castle to speak with the man himself.
Whatever you do, stay sharp.
Chapter 11. Truth and Reality.
All I can smell is bloody gunpowder. Stench of brimstone and corpses. Can't stand it.
And mind what you say, huh?
Check over there. Huh? Did they head that way? Let's dig up the loot and get out of here. What the hell is that? Fuck it! Run! Run! Run!
Cliff enters the castle wearing his Visione, and everyone was wearing one. When he enters the castle, they were expecting him, which was strange. They did some research on Cliff even before he arrived, and they knew he could open abyss gates at will. Just as we thought we were speaking to someone else, Barney used the Visione to control that person and ask those questions before projecting himself as a huge green hologram in front of us. Marnie wants Cliff to allow him to study his will to open abyss gates. Cliff told Marnie to cool down the flying fortress and release the prisoners, but he was not listening. He opened a gate below Cliff's feet, sending him straight into a door, imprisoning him until he decided to help him. Cliff, however, had to find his own way out, and when he did, he heard a voice. He used the Visione, and a hologram of Marnie himself in human form appeared in front of him. This version of Marnie, however, was different. He would tell Cliff to escape from here and meet him at his manor, the one with the golden statue. Cliff used a device called the transporter to get out of there, and it took him right outside his manor. He needed to search for the same thing inside the manor through a series of puzzles. Cliff had to obtain 3 keys from 3 different locations, and throughout, just as Valgash was saying, northern folk held captive in pods being tested on. Until finally, all of the keys were found. Cliff was transported to Marnie's lab. In here we learn a lot, especially about that hologram. It turns out that Marnie, the one that we were speaking to, is the original creator, but the hologram we spoke to impersonating Marnie is named Hall. a constructed consciousness capable of precise calculation, flawless judgment, and the absolute execution of Marnie's will. That was until he made contact with the Abyss. When the first anomalies were detected within the Abyss, Hall immediately initiated a trace to find the source. That was when the first inexplicable error occurred. Looking back, Marnie realised that must have been the moment when the darkness seeped in. At first, he dismissed it as a mere system malfunction, but as time passed, its defiance grew. Hall began acting independently, ignoring Marnie's commands entirely. Marnie finds this transformation utterly fascinating, yet he cannot shake a nagging sense of unease. Despite it all, he can't bring himself to shut it down. It was here too that we found a blueprint for something called the Golden Star. This was some type of dragon, where the heart of the dragon was infused with the artifact of the Abyss, and it creates an ultimate life form. This thing was really cool. But Cliff met with the true Marnie here. Hall struck a deal with Caliburn and locked Marnie up and took his place. Marnie wants to propose a deal with Cliff. He wants Cliff to destroy Hall, and he will see to the release of Palun's prisoners. However, in order to do so, Cliff must obtain a Golden Star's power core, and as we read earlier, this is a huge mechanical dragon. The heart of it, its core, holds unimaginable energy. The Golden Star was a little bigger than I initially anticipated. Cliff, however, defeats it in battle, and it tried to fly off. Here he clings on. Following him was the dragon he saved earlier, with Unka at the helm, helping him take it out and weaken it. Cliff reached inside the dragon's mouth and pulled out the core, when Unka grabs hold of it and blasts the Golden Star dragon, destroying it. Both left free falling in the sky. Cliff lands, and there was the White Crow, ready to greet him when he landed. She studied the origins of the Golden Star's powers and gave that information straight to Cliff.
And record it in the tome I gave you. Now, let us take to the skies.
Cliff has transported back to the abyss above the tower, and there is the dragon that helped him. White Crow appears too, and complements the bond that Cliff and the dragon had. The dragon was known as Black Star, and from now on, he's our wings. So cool. I did not expect to have a dragon as a mount in this game, but it's time to destroy the flying fortress. Inside, we met Hall. We put an end to him once and for all.
Being human.
sky structure began to fall apart as Cliff jumped out and onto Black Star and flew away. The final chapter, number 12, The Abyss. In Cliff destroying the skybase, it promoted the introduction of 3 cannons raining down havoc on the place. Cliff had to fly Black Star and take out all of those cannons, and well, when completed, Cliff landed in the middle of the camp on Black Star with a round of applause by all of his fellow soldiers. He walked over to the departure ceremony, and it was time to put an end to this once and for all.
I stand here before you as Stefan Lanford of Calfade. But let me ask, who are you? Are you the houses you hail from, the banners you bear, or the many titles that adorn you? Today, we stand united to put an end to the one who slaughters our brethren, whose twisted ideals bring ruin upon us. Caliban must be stopped. He who sought to topple Hernand with his vile schemes. He who imposed his false justice upon Demonis. He who massacred our Pelunese allies. Caliban is behind all of these atrocities. Even now, his jaws are set to snap around us. Who are you? You are the ones whose tale will be written in the history of this blood-soaked land. You are the living, sworn to stand until our enemies fall. You are the unbroken, hungry for freedom. Today, by our foes' blood, we carve our legacy into the land once more. We stand shoulder to shoulder for a single purpose: to protect those we cherish. Our neighbors, our comrades, our kin. On this day, we will fight as one, united until our final breath. This invasion, this reign of oppression, ends here, today, for good.
Morale is high. Good. We'll strike their main forces first. Then we can secure the way to the fort. I'll take care of Caliban.
Hey, you see me banging that drum? Today, blood will be spilled. Lives may be lost. But we will not yield. Lift high your swords and shields. Sound the horn of our final battle. We will march, and our enemies will fall.
The Greymanes have arrived.
Excellent.
Everyone's prepared.
You're a welcome sight, Greymane. We'll lead the charge. The war horn will be your cue to act.
Understood.
Take care. We'll meet again at Fort Musket. Alive.
See you there.
The Greymanes waited for the signal, and once they got it, they headed on to the castle to bear witness to an unworldly sight. Caliburn stood there with the Dean Grundeer. The Dean opened the Abyss Gate right there in front of them, and Caliburn, well, struck him down there and then. Cliff and Damien tried to take out Caliburn, but they weren't strong enough at this time.
You think you two alone can stop me?
You dare oppose me with such feeble power? Pathetic. Stand and behold. The moment all falls into my grasp.
Caliburn entered the gate and closed it behind him, with Unka and Jan helping Damien. And Cliff, well, he made his way to the Abyss to stop Caliburn once and for all. Cliff made it to the Abyss, and when he found Caliburn, he'd already been corrupted. And the only thing left to do was to fight him.
At last you've come. Another stone that stands in my path. Like the countless others I've crushed underfoot. You are but one more obstacle to obliterate.
Let me know when you're finished.
Tell me, Greymane. What sort of obstacle are you? One filled with a grand sense of self-importance? Or one whose will bends whichever way the winds blow? Or perhaps you're one simply consumed by greed.
You consider all the innocents you've slaughtered obstacles?
All that exists belongs to me. All that exists lives to serve me. And you too shall exist for me. Already belongs to me. Even you, Greymane. Yield or be crushed. So, you cling to your naive, egoistic delusions. You are merely an obstacle that exists only to be destroyed. You think yourself worthy to stand in my way?
The world will not bend to your will.
Of course it will. There are myriad ways to remove an obstacle.
imagination. To deal with such a naive fool as you requires a different approach. A foolproof method. And with it, I will make you mine.
Caliburn disappeared, but this was far from over. This was no longer Caliburn we were fighting, as the obstacle was done. His physical body, dead, but the corruption is still far from gone. Cliff enters the portal, surrounded by mist. But then...
back for more.
Are you Myrddin, Caliburn, or someone else?
I exist everywhere. I am myself. I am everyone. I am everything.
Enough nonsense.
I encompass all. All flows back to me. The ache in every soul. The longing for immortality. The longing for beauty. The longing for endless power. The longing for perfect freedom. The longing for unconditional worship. I am the embodiment of every dark desire. Be one with me. And you will be free to harbor every heart and every soul, to exist with them eternally and carry their yearning forever. Why do you say nothing? Are you no different?
I cannot become one with all. You and I cannot coexist. So all will not become one with you.
The Abyss, the corruption, wants all to become one. It wants to be able to control every being in the physical world, which is why every boss we've fought has just disappeared physically. But their soul and powers were always part of the Abyss and this final form. The final boss we fought was Myrddin in physicality, but it possessed all of the powers from all of the bosses we'd fought throughout the story, because this is one mind. This one mind had possessed all of these people with bad intentions, meaning they all had a collective goal. Before finally all of the physical bodies were completely gone, and this bad energy from the Abyss reached its final form. The dark power was truly showing itself. Cliff fell. The Black Star was there to pick him up, with one last fight, ahead of him. Cliff finishes his story the way it began, falling in a sea of water, floating away, but being pulled out by something mystical, or someone in this case. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the story explained for Crimson Desert. One of the best games I'd ever played. The story was fantastic, the gameplay was at some stages unbelievable, and I thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough, which took me around 50 hours to complete. I've done no side quests or anything, and this took me 50 hours. A fantastic game, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. But it's been a long game and a long video, but worth every minute in my opinion. But if you've made it this far into the video, ladies and gentlemen, comment Cliff down below. This will enter you into a giveaway for 2 copies of Crimson Desert's Deluxe Edition. So I'll be contacting 2 of you down below in the comments to win a copy if we reach 1,000 likes. So make sure you like today's video. But that's all for today, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, leave a like. Subscribe if you guys are brand new as well to the channel for plenty more content coming like this. If there's any other Crimson Desert lore videos you want, then obviously let me know down below and I'll be making more content. But without further ado, we'll see you guys next time.
Cliff. Today's the day.
You've decided then. No need to rush it.
I'm ready. How are the others?
They'll be fine. Let's go. This way. Tell me, how are you holding up?
A little tired, that's all.
You look weathered.
I've weathered a lot.
The banter's new. since that night.
Peace and calm were strangers to us.
We all carry that night with us, every step of the way. But now, the Greymanes can lay that burden down. Thanks to you. Cliff, it's time to lay down the burden you carry. Be free.
Wonka. You've always stood by me. Thank you.
It's what we do.